The third week of March 2026 is not ordinary, and you must not treat it like just another passing stretch of days. From March 17th onward, you are standing at a threshold. Not a symbolic one in the shallow sense, a real one, a spiritual crossing, a psychic doorway between the life you have been dragging behind you and the life that is beginning to gather on the other side of your fear. As the Pisces New Moon approaches, the atmosphere changes. The noise drops, the old signals distort. What once felt stable starts to feel strangely far away, and what once felt impossible begins moving closer, even if you cannot yet explain how. This is not random. This is not your imagination. This is the moment the universe lowers your hand from the old door and places it on a new one. You may have felt it already. A strange pressure in the chest, a quiet ache behind the eyes, the sensation that something is ending, even if no one around you can see it. The sense that your spirit has been standing in a hallway for too long, waiting for one final sign before you move. That is what this threshold is. It is the place between certainty and surrender, between the identity that carried you through survival and the self that can finally begin to live with deeper truth. And when a new moon rises through Pisces energy, that threshold does not arrive with loud declarations. It arrives like mist around the ankles, like a dream that follows you into waking life, like a truth you keep trying to ignore but cannot. This is why the third week of March carries so much weight. The sky is not simply offering a reset, it is demanding emotional honesty. Pisces energy dissolves what is false, blurred, artificial, performative, and spiritually dead. It softens the structures you thought would protect you. It reveals where you have been escaping instead of healing. It exposes where you have been hoping instead of choosing. And because this new moon arrives near the turning of the season, the emotional impact is stronger. You are not just beginning something. You are being moved across a line. Before this moment, many of you have been living in a strange internal climate. Not fully broken, but not fully clear. Not lost, but not fully certain. You may have been carrying disappointment that never got the respect it deserved. You may have smiled through confusion. You may have continued showing up while privately wondering whether your energy was being wasted. You may have felt spiritually tired, emotionally flooded, or quietly disconnected from your own future. This is what karmic preparation often looks like. It does not always arrive through dramatic collapse. Sometimes it arrives through delay, through silence, through mixed signals, through long stretches where nothing seems to move because your soul is being repositioned before the next chapter opens. And that is the hardest part of a threshold. It does not feel like power at first. It feels like uncertainty. It feels like standing in between rooms while both doors remain half open. The old life is no longer fully holding you, but the new life has not yet taken shape. This can make you question everything. Your instincts, your timing, your worth, your path. But you must understand what is happening now. The threshold is not punishing you. It is refining you. It is stripping away what cannot come with you. The people, habits, fantasies, dependencies, and emotional bargains that were built for an older version of you do not always survive a new moon like this. So what is shifting now? First, illusion loses some of its power. What you have tried to romanticize becomes harder to defend. What you have tolerated starts to sting. What you have been waiting for without real evidence begins to reveal itself as a drain, not a destiny. Second, inner guidance becomes louder, not through panic, but through repeated emotional truth. The same message keeps returning. The same feeling keeps surfacing. The same discomfort keeps asking for your attention. Third, spiritual momentum begins to gather. Not necessarily in visible outcomes immediately, but in alignment, in clean knowing, in the quiet decision to stop betraying yourself in places where you already know better. This is why the emotional experience of this week may feel so intense. You may notice heaviness in the chest, especially when you are alone. You may feel waves of fatigue that seem emotional more than physical. You may wake from vivid dreams with a strange certainty that something has been shown to you, even if you cannot fully translate it into language. You may feel tears close to the surface without a clear reason. You may feel tension in the throat when you think about one conversation you know you need to have. You may feel restless at night and unusually sensitive during the day. Music may hit harder. Silence may feel louder. Your body may react to people before your mind catches up. All of this matters. Under a threshold moment like this, the body often becomes the messenger before the intellect is ready to listen. You may also feel an urge to withdraw, not because you are weak, because your system is sorting truth from noise. Be careful not to confuse this with failure. There are moments when the soul grows privately. This is one of them. If the outside world feels too sharp, too demanding, too performative right now, that may be your sign to step back from unnecessary exposure. You do not need to explain every inner shift while it is still forming. Some transformations lose power when spoken too soon. Some doors only open in silence. But this is not only a week of endings. It is also a week of activation. Once the threshold reveals what is no longer right, it also begins to reveal what is real. A new desire may rise in you, a stronger standard, a cleaner boundary, a calmer vision for your future. You may realize that what you truly want is simpler and more sacred than what you were chasing before. Peace instead of performance. Depth instead of attention. Reciprocity instead of hope. Stability instead of emotional gambling. The threshold changes your appetite. It makes chaos less attractive. It makes truth more valuable. It makes your energy too precious to spend in shallow places. This shift also touches money and abundance in a powerful way, because Pisces energy can blur lines. This new moon asks you to look honestly at where your finances have been entangled with emotion. Have you been overspending to soothe emptiness? Undercharging because you still doubt your value? Delaying a practical decision because part of you hoped the situation would fix itself? Trusting promises that were never backed by action? The threshold does not judge these patterns, but it does expose them. This is a moment to reclaim your relationship with worth. Not just self-worth in the poetic sense, material worth, time worth, labor worth, energy worth, the value of what you give, where you give it, and whether you are receiving enough in return. Some of you are being called to simplify financially, not out of scarcity, but out of wisdom. This may be the week you realize that abundance is not only about expansion, it is also about clarity, about leakage being sealed, about saying no to what confuses your stability, about refusing to build your future on emotional impulse. Watch any financial situation that depends on vagueness, delayed answers, inconsistent people, or idealized outcomes. Under this threshold, unclear money becomes a message. It tells you where your boundaries need strengthening. At the same time, this energy can quietly open doors around income, creativity, intuition-led work, healing professions, spiritual businesses, artistic expression, and anything that requires sensitivity as a strength rather than a weakness. But the invitation is not to fantasize. It is to ground the vision. If an opportunity comes, ask whether it is reciprocal. If an idea arrives, ask how it can be structured. If a dream returns, ask what discipline it now requires. The threshold rewards what is sacred enough to be made real. Your body is also deeply involved in this cosmic passage. Do not separate your spiritual life from your physical state this week. Sleep matters more than usual. Hydration matters more than usual. Nervous system regulation matters more than usual. If you have been overstimulated, underrested, emotionally absorbing other people, or pushing yourself through subtle exhaustion, this energy will reveal the cost. Some of you may feel unusually drained after social contact. Some may notice headaches, fogginess, shallow breathing, stomach sensitivity, or body heaviness that seems to rise when you are around misaligned environments. Pay attention. The body's not being dramatic. It is being protective. This week favors gentleness over force, rest over proving. Water, sleep, stillness, and emotional release will help you more than control. If you need to cry, cry. If you need to nap, nap. If you need to get off your phone for a few hours and let your thoughts settle, do it. There is wisdom in stepping out of the static. You are crossing a threshold, and thresholds require presence. They cannot be navigated well from a dysregulated state. Nowhere is this more obvious than in relationships and communication. This part of the week is especially sharp because Pisces can either deepen compassion or hide reality behind emotional haze. That means you must watch behavior with unusual honesty now. Not speeches, not promises, not spiritual language. Behavior. Who becomes clearer when things get serious? Who disappears? Who reaches for honesty? Who reaches for avoidance? Who holds your emotional reality with maturity, and who only wants access to you when it is convenient? The threshold reveals this without mercy. Some of you are going to see the truth about a connection you have spent too long protecting. You may realize you have been carrying the emotional weight of two people. You may see that someone loves the comfort of your energy, but not the responsibility of showing up cleanly. You may feel the ache of recognizing that you were devoted to potential while reality kept disappointing you. This hurts, but it is holy pain. It is the pain of waking up. And once you see clearly, the threshold asks something of you. It asks whether you will keep standing at the old door, begging it to open wider, or whether you will finally turn toward the one that is waiting for your courage. For others, this energy can deepen a real bond. If a connection is honest, emotionally mature, spiritually aligned, and able to hold truth without collapsing, this new moon can soften defenses and create genuine closeness. But that closeness will require honesty, not performance, not indirect hints, not emotional testing. Truth. One clean conversation may matter more than 10 weeks of guessing. If you love someone, speak from the center, not from fear. If you need clarity, ask directly. If something feels off, do not explain it away too quickly. This is a week for noticing where communication nourishes and where it depletes. The threshold also transforms self-respect. You may find yourself less willing to chase, less willing to over-explain, less willing to keep the peace at the cost of your dignity. This is not coldness. It is evolution. You are learning that peace is not something you beg for. It is something you protect. And one of the strongest signs this week is working is that your standards begin to rise quietly. Not from ego, from alignment. So what should you do during this transit? First, slow down enough to hear yourself. Do not fill every silence. Do not rush to solve what is still revealing itself. Second, watch patterns more than words. The truth of this week is behavioral. Third, protect your energy around people who leave you confused, drained, guilty, or small. Fourth, make one grounded move that honors your future. That may be a boundary, a budget decision, a conversation, a journal entry, a canceled plan, a rested evening, or a private commitment to stop returning to what keeps wounding you. The threshold is crossed in real choices, not only in spiritual insight. Write down what keeps repeating. The dream, the name, the discomfort, the desire, the memory, the fear, the idea you keep postponing. Repetition is one of the ways the universe marks a doorway. If something keeps returning, it is not random. It is asking for relationship. It is asking to be answered. And now, for the 3 zodiac signs most affected by this threshold, Pisces, this is your crossing. This new moon touches you like a hand on the soul. You are not being asked for small change. You are being asked for rebirth. The old emotional skin is too tight now. The role you have been playing, the softness you have offered in places that did not know how to honor it, the quiet ways you have abandoned your own needs to maintain connection or peace, all of that is reaching a breaking point. This week may feel deeply personal for you. You may feel more exposed, more intuitive, more tired, and more aware than usual. But beneath that sensitivity is power. The threshold for you is about identity. Who are you when you stop shrinking to remain lovable? Who are you when you stop confusing sacrifice with spirituality? Who are you when you finally let your inner life become visible in your external choices? This is your beginning, Pisces. But it only opens fully when you stop waiting for permission to become who you already know you are. Virgo. This threshold lands across your axis of relationship, reflection, and emotional honesty. What is shifting now is not only how you see others, but how clearly you are finally seeing yourself through them. If someone has been inconsistent, you will feel it more sharply. If a bond has been strong, you will know that too. But there is no room now for half-truths in love, business, or commitment. This week is showing you where you have been over-functioning, over-fixing, overthinking, and trying to earn stability by carrying more than your share. The threshold for you is about reciprocity, about realizing that being reliable does not mean becoming the container for everyone else's confusion. You are being asked to release relational perfectionism and choose emotional truth instead. Let the connection show you what it is. Let people reveal their level. Let reality do the talking. Your peace grows the moment you stop negotiating with what is already clear. Gemini. For you, this threshold is tied to direction, purpose, visibility, and the shape of your public future. Something is changing in the way you think about success. What once impressed you may now feel empty. What once seemed risky may now feel necessary. You may feel mentally crowded this week, pulled between multiple options, ideas, roles, or responsibilities. But the threshold is not asking you to do more. It is asking you to choose more honestly. Where are you scattering energy because commitment scares you? Where are you saying yes because silence makes you uncomfortable? Where are you still performing certainty instead of building real alignment? This new moon can quietly reset your trajectory, but only if you stop giving your mind to everything and start giving your life to what matters. A cleaner path is available, but it requires devotion, not distraction. And even if your sign was not named, this threshold is still working on you. The third week of March is not selective in its spiritual intelligence. It reaches anyone who has been standing between what is over and what is next. Anyone who has been feeling the pressure of becoming. Anyone who has been sensing that a chapter is ending even though the evidence is still incomplete. Anyone who has been quietly asking the universe for a sign and is now being shown that the sign was not outside them. It was the growing inability to keep living against their own truth. So when the new moon arrives, do not ask only what is beginning. Ask what you are finally ready to leave behind. Ask what dream is worthy of your discipline now. Ask what relationship deserves your tenderness, and which one only drains it. Ask what part of your body has been speaking to you through tension. Ask what financial pattern is asking to be healed. Ask what silence is trying to protect. Ask what your future has been waiting for you to admit, because that is the real meaning of a threshold. It is not just a line between one chapter and another. It is the sacred point where hesitation becomes decision, where grief becomes wisdom, where confusion becomes signal, where longing becomes movement, where the self you were forced to become meets the self you are finally free to choose. This week, you do not need to have every answer. You do not need to know the full map. You do not need to force the door. You only need to recognize where you are standing. You are not lost. You are at the threshold. You are not being denied. You are being prepared. You are not too late. You are arriving at the exact edge where your next life can begin to hear you. So protect your energy. Tell the truth. Honor the body. Watch what repeats. Do not chase what keeps blurring. Do not worship what keeps withholding. Do not keep kneeling at the old door when your soul has already turned toward the new one. The third week of March 2026 carries a quiet power. And if you meet it with honesty, it can change more than your mood. It can change your standards, your choices, your relationships, your money story, your nervous system, your direction, your faith in what you are becoming. This is where the old chapter loosens its grip. This is where the hidden movement begins. This is where the threshold opens. And when it does, step through it like someone who finally understands that clarity is a blessing. Endings are instructions, and your spirit was never asking for less. It was asking for truth. If you want, I can turn this into an even more viral version with a stronger first 60 seconds, more clickbait, tension, and deeper sign sections.